With all greatness and success comes with it a set of rules that have to be followed. Once followed closely, the possibilities are endless. We look at all the great and successful people and the things that have achieved, and we wonder, what is it that sets them apart from us? What do they have that we don't have? What is it that they do that we don't do? Anyone can achieve success and be great. Anyone can be efficient. Anyone can achieve their deepest desires. The secret to these achievements lies in our habits, the things that we choose to practice and dedicate our time and effort to daily, for we become what we practice. Hi guys, this is Bimulenga, and today we're going to be talking about the sure known way of achieving our goals and becoming successful. More than 80% of our daily activities are processed in the subconscious mind. No one person can actively think about everything they do on a daily basis. If that were so, the brain would have a burnout, causing a mental breakdown. Let's take, for instance, daily activities like eating. When we get hungry, the brain triggers a need for food. We find that food and eat it. Once we are full, we know for sure we've eaten something. But almost everybody does not consciously know how they chewed their food, how long they chewed it for, when it became soluble enough to swallow, and when they swallowed. All these processes are examples of everything we do daily, but we don't actively think about. They're embedded in our habits that we've learned since we were children. And this applies to walking, dancing, jumping, swimming, breathing, and pretty much any aspect of our lives that is done repetitively. In most cases than not, failure to achieve our goals lies in the inability of us to instill better habits that will set us up for success. But how do we instill these habits into our lives? How do we set ourselves up for success? For we all know it's not simple. If it was simple, everyone and anyone would be doing it. Everyone would be successful. It takes time. It takes a lot on our parts. Intentional practice, intentional actions that are geared towards building good habits. And with persistence and dedication, they will become second nature to us. If we look at education and learning, in whatever form it may come to you, how is it that some people excel at it and some people don't? Some may say those who excel at it are gifted. And this may be true in some cases, but it just puts a limit on those people saying it by thinking they can't do what others can do. If we look at people that we consider to be a success story and go back to when they were children, we discover that they were building habits that have set them up for success today. Whether they were being helped to do it or they did themselves, something changed and something was practiced intentionally until it became a part of them. The same thing applies to athletes. Most of us grow up as kids saying we want to be the next Usain Bolt, want to be the next Messi or Ronaldo, depending on where you lie in that argument. We want to be the next Williams sisters, want to be the next Tiger Woods, want to be the next Wayne Gretzky. You get it? Trying to name all the great athletes. The list is endless. But we tend to overlook what those guys gave up to be where we've known them to be. Take, for instance, the story of Michael Jordan. It is said that when he was left out of the high school basketball team, he embarked on training for at least 6 hours daily to perfect his skill so that when the next time comes, he won't be left out. What he was actually doing was building habits that will set him up perfectly for success when an opportunity comes by. The same applies to Usain Bolt. I remember I saw an interview one time where the interviewer asked him how long he trains to be the Usain Bolt we know. And he said something like he trains at least 6 hours daily. That is 6 hours spent perfecting his habits. And those habits are the ones that have set him up to be the Usain Bolt we know today. Away from sports, the story is the same. If we look at Bill Gates, he writes in his autobiography that he used to program at least 8 hours, 7 days a week when he was in high school, and sometimes at night. Thomas Edison and his lab failed countless of times before they discovered the light bulb. What all this says to us is deliberate repetition with intent to develop better habits, setting yourself up for success is the key to becoming successful and achieving our goals. We should consciously want to change the bad habits and replacing them with the good habits that will set us up for success. And what better way of achieving this by following what Charles Duhigg in his book The Power of Habit calls the habit loop. The habit loop is a simple and straightforward process, but it takes a whole lot to get perfectly right because it involves taking out something that you've been doing for years and perfected, even though it's bad, and replacing it with something else, something that's better and sets us up for success and better future. This will only work if you discover the keystone habit that, when replaced with a good habit, will influence an avalanche of change in your entire life. And this is the way that the habit loop is described. First, you have a cue. This is the trigger for the automatic behavior to start. Then you have a routine, which is the actual automatic behavior happening. And then you have a reward, that which you get out of that behavior. Once we discover the keystone habit we need to change and what triggers it, it may be laziness, boredom, fear, imposter syndrome, you name it, and discover what we get out of that routine or habit, then we can find a habit that's similar but better that we can replace with and setting ourselves up for success and a better future. And the better way to do this is by keeping a record of the process. For it's been proven that reading it out loud has positive effects compared to just keeping it in your mind. Let's pick a common habit. Let's say spending too much time on social media. So we've established the habit is spending too much time on social media. Now we have to figure out the cue. When do you get on social media and what triggers it? Sometimes it's the need to read something entertaining. Sometimes it's the need to watch something funny or otherwise. For some, it may be the need to talk to somebody. So we've established the habit and the cue. Now, the next step is a reward. What do you get from spending too much time on social media? It's been established what the cue is, what the behavior is, and what the reward is. Now, how can we consciously replace that with something better so we can set ourselves up for success? If the reward is written words, we can replace that with reading a book, a page a day or something like that until it gets better. If the reward is visual content, you can watch a TED Talk or some educational materials that you're just not getting entertained, but you're also learning something and might trigger your creative mind. If the reward is talking to somebody online, so we can try to talk to an actual person. It might be somebody we meet, a workmate, a schoolmate, or just somebody we're interested in. And once that's done, you can actually earn one extra friend and get an emotional attachment out of it. Going back to athletes, we look at what they've done and who they are today, but rarely do we ever go back to see what it took for them to be who they are today. Most of these athletes took time to discover where they wanted to go and what it would take to get there. And with that, they removed every obstacle, replacing it with bridges, so to speak, that will enable them to get to the next stage of their careers. These bridges are habits that they've been creating for a long time. Let's take, for instance, watching TV or playing video games for a considerable amount of time. So they realized that just made them lazy. It didn't take them a step closer to achieving their goal. It didn't make them know what they need to know to achieve what they needed to achieve. So some removed that from their lives and replaced it with actual practice on the field their game is played on. Some created schedules that allowed them to wake up really early in the morning. Obviously, at first, it sucked, but with practice, deliberate practice, knowing what you need to achieve to get where you need to go, it became a second nature and it enabled them to be in a place of success. But we all know, achieving one's goals, nothing comes easy. We have to work. We have to replace the bad with the good and keep at it, never relenting. If we fall, just get back up and keep on walking. Self-discipline is the greatest resource into shaping ourselves, into replacing the bad habits with the good ones. The same applies to education and learning, to dieting and exercising, pretty much any walk of life, work, you name it. Most of the activities that are performed in almost every area of our life are repetitive. They're routine. They can be perfected over time. We just need to choose the routines that put us in a place of success and not a place of failure. Achieving one's goals deserves sacrifice. So all we need to do is to discover what it is that we want to achieve, what needs to be done to achieve that, and when. With a lot of self-discipline and deliberate practice with the intent to achieve that goal, we create habits that will live with us forever, putting us perfectly in a place of success. What happens in one's life, in most cases, is entirely up to that person. We can blame everyone, we can blame anything and everything, but it all boils down to us. We make the final decision. We choose defeat or success. We choose failure or to rise above it. We create a person who will see tomorrow, whether we know it or we don't. We become what we practice today. Just like Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see tomorrow. It's the same principle. The habits we build today will make us the person we'll see tomorrow. Life is right before our very eyes. All we have to do is reach out and grab it. That's all for today, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you'd like to discuss anything further with me or any comments, please drop them in the comments below, or you can reach me on Twitter. The Twitter link is in the description below. Thank you.